The war between humans and demons went on for years, with the leader of the human war being a hero fighting the demon king. The hero is a typical warrior from the middle country of the human world, and he wanted to defeat the monsters with his army in order to end this war forever and for mankind to find peace and then celebrate victory over demons in the years to come. The hero and his group of warriors approached the demon's kingdom secretly. Then the hero left his men to enter the demon's castle alone. He was so brave to take a risky step like this, but he avoided the traps and hid from monsters inside the castle bravely. But when he finally reached the highest part of the castle, where the king's chamber was, he was so surprised as he found that the king is a pretty redhead woman. The pretty demon king started to tell the hero that she was the third king after 40 previous kings of demons. Then she showed him her sign near his heart, but he was about to kill her with his sword. But after he had yanked it, she said to him calmly, "I really was waiting for you all the last time." She announced clearly that she wanted the hero to be her man, but she was surprised when he disagreed with her and told her that he would defeat the demons in this war. Then she tried to explain her thoughts to the hero, saying that if he joined her, the demons would win this war, and this war is necessary for humans themselves, as the war supplies the central nation with wealth. She laughed while she said that war gathers humans as well. She said that the rich and nobles want the war to last, but the people in the countries and villages live in poverty, starvation, and die in war. The demon's king invited the hero to have some tea together while she was trying to convince him to join her and the demons in war. When they sat down to have the cups of tea, she showed him a crystal, showing whatever he's thinking of through memories, imagination, and discovering many things. The hero looked in the palace, and it showed his childhood memories. When he was young, he dressed in the outfit of a prince to attend a party of wealthy people. The demon king, who looked like a pretty woman, said, "The war refunds our wealthy lifestyle, but we can't let the poor people who won't find anything to eat." And the hero began to believe her reasons, and evil started to appear inside his human heart. Then she took the plural from him, and they got on a boat that flew in a natural beauty, and she said that she always hoped to see what's behind the green hills in the human world. The demon king and the hero, for the first time, got a deal secretly to continue the war. They couldn't make their plan public, as the people would surely revolt against it, and it would be the worst for both kinds. And they made a contract that they were equal in mission. They wouldn't achieve one goal, and they never announced it. Then they were transported to the human world through a magical gate, and they went to the first village they would start from. They wanted to meet people and find convenient living sources for them. The people in the small, poor village didn't notice them, but the hero asked about the reason for choosing that village exactly, and the demon told him that when they start from the smallest place, they would go forward to reach the capital nation. The demon king changed her name to Crimson Scholar, a noble lecturer woman who lives with the hero and the boss maid in a village. The boss maid shouts from afar and calls the demon king by her title. Despite their attempts to hide their true identities, she also remarks that the relationship between the two looks more like a married couple than just owning each other. The two decide to stay at the huge villa where the boss maid will take care of their needs, and the demon king explains to him that she knew her even as a child and commends her expertise in maid duties. She then instructs the maid to spread the rumor that the two did indeed fight and both were severely wounded, as this would buy them more time to implement their mission in the small village. The boss maid explains that Demon Knight is known to the locals as the daughter of a noble family who will carry out agricultural research in the region. And since she has experience in farming, she will find the task to be simple. Later that night, the Demon Knight leads them outside to survey the state of the village's agriculture, explaining that using the soil properly in a cold and poor country can provide them with food all year round. They go over to the village the following morning, but despite having an incredible plan to help the people, the village elders reject their suggestions. The three return to the villa, disappointed that their plan didn't pan out as they planned. But while preparing to turn in for the night, they end up hearing a mysterious sound from outside, and they rush towards the area, only to find two weak and filthy young girls. The two sisters are victims of poverty as people burn the houses of those who threaten their food stocks. And with nowhere else to run, they happen to stay at the villa to rest for a bit. The boss maid explains that the children are land servants from a nearby country, and this isn't the first time servants have tried to hide in the villa, as she used to report them before to the authorities. But the hero and the Demon King stopped her this time. The Demon King instead orders her to whip up some food and find decent clothes for the kids. But the older sister doesn't want to be caught again with her sister in this condition and hopes they won't be rated out to the higher-ups. The boss maid who's been eavesdropping scoffs at them, comparing them to bugs that can't maneuver through their own lives. Feeling a bit guilty, the older sister asks the boss maid whether she can show them how to be more human. And she gets so moved by their determination that she decides to take them in as the new maids for the mansion, schooling them in the ways of the world. In her first lesson, she shows the elder sister how to ask for stuff by holding her skirt and giving a proper bow. Dawn breaks, and the hero sets out in search of food, accompanied by the younger maid who served him his meal recently. As they journey together, they share stories about their training and their aspirations. The hero can't shake off the nagging feeling that being adept with a sword might not be enough for a peaceful life post-war. Meanwhile, the Demon King is engrossed in giving the villagers an economic lesson. Her students include the older maid, a local trader, and an eager young noble, and their conversation revolves around the financial implications of the crusade, which is an ambitious effort by the Central Nations to drive out all demon tribes and end the hostilities. The hero consoles her for failing at her lecture as they walk in the rain together, while he reminisces about everything that she has done so far. The two finally stop at the village elder's house, and she brings out a mysterious box that will serve as their secret weapon. Months have passed since the two started their lives at the village, and the crops are starting to flourish, bringing great joy to the village locals returning from the field. The hero and Demon King talk about these lost months, like how the hero accidentally destroyed the field because he couldn't control his strength, and how the two sister mates are starting to fit in with the other villagers and students. Satisfied with their progress, they proceed to the next stage of their plans and teleport to Lake Country, a less cold nation than the Winter's Past village. They discuss the church's influence on the teachings of this world, which they may use to promote agricultural practices faster. They approach the local convent, and a woman with yellow hair introduces herself as the prioress of the country. The two introduce themselves as the Crimson Scholar and the White Swordsman. But the prior knows who they are because she is actually the female knight, one of the hero's original companions. She slaps the hero out of anger because he left them to fight the Demon King alone. But the Demon King lies, saying that he wounded the enemy, had to retreat for safety, and currently rests while escorting her on her missions. She fills them in on recent news about the hero, starting with the Human King declaring the hero dead and his companions going separate ways. Apparently, his companions returned to the city to report him missing, and the authorities offered them reward money in return. The female knight declines the offer and returns to the Covenant to help the people in her own way. The archer accepted the money and worked for an intelligence group in the southern countries with the Winter King. The mage followed the hero to the demon realm with her own companions, and they were nowhere to be seen. After catching up on recent news, the Demon King finally reveals to everyone that their secret weapon is actually potatoes. She discussed how this potato could solve world hunger in their case and even gave a free sample of how it tastes. Even though she fully supports the Demon King's potato propaganda, the female knight informs them that they have no money to fund the project. But they ask the Covenant not for money, but to teach about agriculture in the Winter's Past village. They know that more people will listen to the Covenants than the Crimson Scholar because of the Church's influence, and the female Night Star is preparing immediately. On the way home, the two talk more about how complicated the economics of their plan are. She explains that the southern countries are directly controlled by the king, and convincing these nations will be hard as a mere scholar and knight. However, she had already made contact with their alliance, a group of leaders from the southern countries, by selling them the most advanced technology known to man, the compass. Surprisingly, the alliance sees the compass as a threat to their nation's security. The two finally return home, but the hero prepares to leave immediately to look for the mage in the demon realm. The Demon King is obviously jealous of the many women he is close with, but she still understands his intentions, so she gives him a list of helpful demons in full armor to protect him in his journey. She wishes him farewell, and he promises to return soon. Months have passed since the hero went on his journey, and the Demon King prepares to meet the merchants from the Alliance for the first time since she gave them the compass. While the maids help her get ready, the female knight is training her students for combat outside the villa, and it seems that both women are frustrated due to the hero's absence for almost 6 months. The two Alliance merchants finally arrive at the villa, but they seem to have malicious plans for this negotiation. The blonde one does most of the talking, while the one with glasses appears to communicate with their assassins outside of the villa, who will attack the Demon King if the negotiations take a terrible turn. Unknown to the merchants and the assassins, the boss maid used her demon powers to summon ghosts around the area and report any weird movements to her, including the assassins of course. The negotiations start, and the Demon King presents corn instead of potatoes. This time, she tries to sell the idea that corn is much more ideal in the northern countries in farming. This will surely give the alliance an edge over the other nations. All this talk is just to sell the idea of corn farming. Surely there's a catch for this woman. But there isn't a catch because she only wants the war to end. This is ridiculed by the blonde merchant, as they believe that the war will only end if humans win. The glasses guy signals the assassins to prepare for an attack, and the ghosts signal the boss maid to get ready too. But the Demon King manages to de-escalate the situation. Showing humility, the merchants finally understand the importance of farming corn and bind the contract with her. As they prepare to leave, the merchants ask her why she sells ideas instead of vegetables, to which she answers that she does this out of love. This amuses him and even interests him because he jokingly proposes to her, which she outright rejects. The Demon King continues her work until late at night, assisted by the boss maid and her ghosts. She is burdened not only by the paperwork for her mission, but also by the absence of the hero. To be fair, he writes letters occasionally, but this isn't enough for someone who loves him so much. However, it appears that the hero returns to the villa. Unknown to the Demon King, he writes letters and regains his strength, but hides from her because she will surely be upset as she finds out. He frequently encounters danger in his adventures. The boss maid knows of his presence, and he explains to her that he expected more action when he agreed to help the Demon King. But so far, all they have done is take economics classes and farm. This lifestyle isn't enough for him, so he keeps these details secret for now. But the boss maid reminds him that he is still under a contract with her master, so he should consider her feelings too. The hero continues his journey, clad in the armor gifted to him by the Demon King, and his first quest is to gain more information about the incoming war by the holy capital against the demons of Aurora Island. He settles in a nearby town and enters its local tavern. When he discovers that the demons in the area are being mistreated by humans, a tall human warrior harasses a blue demon waitress. When the hero intervenes and saves her in the nick of time, he lets her rest as she reveals that the humans in that region treat almost all demons poorly because their species lost in a local conflict. This angers the righteous hero and tells her that winning the fight doesn't give them the right to harm demons. She continues talking with him and teaches him how to infiltrate the northern countries through Gateway City. He thinks about what the Demon King would probably do with this kind of intelligence and then travels with the demon girl to a nearby temple. The temple appears to be barren and full of debris, but they still try to search for more information when a nearby shout shocks them. The noise comes from a demon that curses the humans for abusing their species, which deepens the hero's anger at the rich people and the nations for allowing this discrimination to happen. Back at the Winter Village, the female knight is called back for duty to become a commander in the war after the expedition to Aurora Island resulted in casualties and the Winter King's death. Realizing that this is their final chance to talk casually, she confesses lying to the female knight about her true identity. The female knight isn't shocked by her confession, as the hero had already informed him of their contract beforehand. So she forgives her for lying, but tells her that being a demon is not a sin. The following day marks an entire year since the hero's departure, and the Demon King visibly misses him. So the maids try to cheer her up with gifts like perfume and a chibi hero doll. The women talk about going to the New Year festival later that evening, but the Demon King refuses and chooses to rest at the villa. She lies on her bed that night alone in her thoughts, when suddenly the hero catches her by surprise. He thought she would hug him after not seeing each other for a long time, but instead she greets him with a full-force pillow swing that throws him across the room. She snaps at him for not making an effort to see her all this time, but he explains that he is busy with their mission. The two are smack in the middle of an argument when the tension disappears after the festival. Music fills the air. He invites her to dance to the music as they enjoy the festival inside under the moonlight, and the Demon King enjoys her time with the hero once more. After the festival, the hero prepares to embark on another journey, so she bids him farewell and tells him that the next time they'll see each other, they'll be on the battlefield. The women at the villa begin to prepare for war as well, and the curious older maid asks the Demon King why wars happen, and she answers that conflict is the same with other human natures, like love and hate. But the maid thinks that war doesn't happen and that their discussion is cut short when the other maid reports their preparation, and the Demon King shares her plan to travel to Aurora Island and meet with the others. There she arrives at the southern country stronghold, where she is welcomed by the new Winter King, the archer, and the female knight. As they strategize ways to infiltrate Aurora Island, The Demon King surprises them with a mountain load of salt that they can use to connect the glaciers and form a bridge to the island. The soldiers start following the order and gather as many glaciers as they can to create an ice bridge to advance towards the demon territory. And just as they begin to charge ahead, hordes of demons, like jumping sharks and giant squids, defend their island but still ultimately lose the battle. Following their victory, the leaders regroup to plan their attack the next day, when a group of allied soldiers suddenly teleported to the other side of the battlefield. With help from the hero, it seems that he successfully infiltrated the gateway city while the war was happening and threatened the Crusades. Loafing around with the use of magic to fight the front line with the others, he teleports to the stronghold and rejoins the Demon King and his companions, and together they continue the war against the demons. Just as the humans overpower the demons, the Demon Ice General finally reveals himself as a strong and humongous talking walrus. The female knight battles with him through sheer strength and elemental magic, creating ice shards and flying rocks as they brawl. The walrus tries to strike her, but she quickly rushes along his arm and deals the final blow in one clean slash. The leader of Aurora Island is finally slain, and the humans cheer as they reclaim the territory that opens more trade routes to the southern nations. They return home and celebrate their victory at the Winter Kingdom through an elegant feast where the king declares Aurora Island as a new human territory. Through the great strategizing of the two ladies, the hero enjoys the party behind the castle and away from the party, where the serene sea fills the air. When the archer approaches him by surprise, they talk about their lost time from when the hero left his companions to fight the Demon King alone, but the archer understands that he did this because he's afraid that his companions will get hurt and tells him that he doesn't need to carry the burden of being a hero alone anymore. Months have passed since their successful reclamation of Aurora Island, and the hero and Demon King briefly enjoy a peaceful life at the villa, but it still gets rowdy at times when the female knight pays them a visit. The hero then spends his afternoon with the female knight, sparring to practice their sword skills, as well as discussing future plans now that the war seemingly starts to end. He recounts his experience during his journey and how he saw the maltreated demons in human settlements, indicating that the war is far from over for as long as there are demons suffering in the world. He returns inside the villa as the younger mate surprises him with a medieval fantasy, which the Demon King urges him to try as she commands the maid's growth over the years and how they finally became full-fledged maids. They also discuss the upcoming Gateway City Council, where influential leaders from different nations gather to talk about their governments and enjoy a lively festival. Afterward, he mentions that he will attend the event as the Black Knight to represent the Demon King, and that he already had past encounters with leaders supporting demons' rights in their respective nations. Like the Dragon Princess, it seems that nothing has happened at the council since. The hero and the Eastern General enjoy a small picnic on the city's outskirts, but their enjoyment is cut short when they encounter the Dragon Princess and the blue demon the hero saved before. Before they can talk properly, the ground violently shakes, and it appears that this earthquake struck as far as reaching the villa, to which the Demon King comments that it might be time to return to the demon realm again. Sometime after the incident, the hero, the Demon King, and the older maid travel to an advanced nation to look for something to aid their mission. As they start to train the older maid outside of her usual duties, she already taught the maid classroom education, but she also wants her to learn practical skills by walking around cities outside their hometown. They stumble upon a printing press, a state-of-the-art machine they can use to send bulk messages without the hassle of writing. They return home satisfied with their findings, and the Demon King approaches the female knight about something that has troubled her recently. Apparently, she needs to return to the demon realm for a few months to renew her title as the king, and since she will be joined by the boss maid in her journey, she has been training the older maid more than ever. Daybreak comes, and the Demon King prepares for her long trip ahead, but before she leaves, she gives the older maid a magical ring that can transform her appearance in case of emergency. The hero escorts her and the boss maid to the gateway between worlds and bids farewell to each other once more. The Demon King appears to be back at her castle, where the boss maid awaits her arrival, and she tells her how she encountered the mage on her way back home. The two proceed deeper into the dungeon under the castle, where the Demon King must complete the ritual to renew her title as king. She thought that the earthquakes in humans' world might be because of the worry about sleeping of the old Demon Kings. Crimson thought that if she unlocked their souls for a while, they might calm down again. The boss maid offered to do that instead of her, and in the worst case, she would kill her if she didn't. It took time till they reached the Demon Kingdom, and the people made posters about their lives after they had disappeared in the human world, like how the noble woman still visited many times, and how the King of Winter started to detain problems and crimes, then had cronied in the city. Her advertisement cut out the mystery when some smart person entered her villa. He was the blonde merchant again. The younger maid came and met him. She tried not to be strange or miss up while she treated him as a guest. She wanted to act exactly like the older maid of the Demon King, but when she came and greeted him, he felt that there was something strange. But suddenly, without any complications, the hero entered and asked the maid to leave him alone with the merchant to have a talk. Both of them grew stronger than the last time they met, but the hero still has the power to deceive easily, and the merchant has new morals and an image. Since they were talking about past events, the hero got his long-due celebration from the merchant. He returned back, then he took a hold of the other guy, and they teleported to the colored lights in the space, so the merchant was shocked with the hero's magical teleportation, and he saw the gateway city. He was more surprised by the gateway between the human and demon worlds so easily and fast. The hero put the cherry on top of that by telling him that the scholar he had talked to was actually a demon. They had to see the banquet after the merchant was shocked with all the truth, and then they continued speaking about demons. The hero admitted that he represents humans in the formal events, then offered to give the merchant whole the gateway city, only if he accepted and supported the idea of humans and demons coexisting, and mentioned the huge population of this idea, which would bring wealth and fancy lives for them. But the merchant asked again about what the hero wanted in exchange for all that, so the hero confirmed that he just wanted someone like his brother to see and support their idea of living together. After the banquet, the hero went back to find a sudden visit from a noble woman, and she asked to be the hero's personal knight in the Demon King's absence. After she realized that the Demon King had brought prosperity to the kingdom by being smart and thinking alone, he of course refused her offer, but she had decided and appointed herself as his knight. While they were inside the villa and the two maids showed them the talents they had, the Winter King himself came for something. The Holy Capital seems to be arresting the Demon King, labeling her a heretic for her potato propaganda because it doesn't align with their teachings. This angers the female knight, as it's apparent that the church is using the name of their god for malicious intent, so the hero thinks of a loophole in this matter. He suggests that the older maid disguise herself as the Demon King, and once they arrest her outside of the Winter Country, he can save him without any political strings. The others aren't entirely on board with this decision, but what else could they do at such short notice? So the hero and the two maids prepare to leave in the dead of night, while the others ponder what the future will bring to them. The older maid and the rest of the team arrive in the Winter Country, where the king gives them a place to rest while they wait for her arrest. They can hear the people's clamor outside, protesting that the works of the Demon King are a gentle soul who taught them how to have food for years to come. Meanwhile, the older maid also recounts the blessings she has received from the village ever since they took her. And her younger sister is a maid, mentioning how a mere servant had a wonderful life with their aid. Their meeting is cut short when the city bell tolls as the messenger from the capital finally arrives in the country, indicating that it's finally time for the Demon King to face her so-called sins. They leave the older maid to prepare according to their plan, and she tearfully readies herself as she disguises herself once again as the Demon King. They proceed to the plaza, and the disguised older maid is handed over by the Winter King to the stage, where the messenger and his lackeys verify her identity. The disguise successfully fools the messenger, and they detain her with a wooden cuff, to which the citizens murmur in the belief that she'll be stoned for her deeds. The act of repentance begins, and the older maid is whipped publicly as she grunts in pain, but the people pity the poor woman rather than cheer in support of the church, as they also start to question the morality of the people in power. Even the king wants to help her, but his companions halt his actions so as not to derail their original plan. She musters her remaining strength and gives a speech in front of the plaza, mentioning to them her life story as a servant who was treated as a bug because of her low status. Her family suffered sickness and abuse during her childhood, and only she and her younger sister managed to survive this long. But the Demon King made her feel like she was worth something, and she was finally treated like a human. Today, she reaches out to all the listeners, rich or poor, owners or servants, and says that they shouldn't do something just because they're ordered to do so, because blindly following orders makes them mere bugs who can't think for themselves. Inspired by her speech, the people protest against Messenger's public humiliation of her and stone him and his lackeys. The king and female knight back the people up by protecting her from their attempted execution, and they even proclaimed the Demon King a saint for her selfless efforts for the people. The messenger and his lackeys retreat, humiliated and defeated, stating that all those who follow the Demon King's teachings are as sinful as her, and they will feel the wrath of their god in due time. The team regroups at the Winter King's castle and discusses everything that has happened so far, like how they are now the public enemy #1 of the capital after defying the church's teachings, and how the older maid's speech inspired the people to support their cause. The hero speaks up for us and asks for a summary of what's going on as things start to get really confusing. And basically, the capital under the northern countries wants all the humans to be their followers so they can monopolize the wealth and power. They strategize their next move and start by liberalizing the winter country by freeing the servants of their status, as well as building a new church for the followers of their mission to thwart the true evil caused by corruption and greed. Using the paper and printing press retrieved through the Demon King's efforts, they spread the news about the ongoing changes in the country to other nations, eventually reaching the blonde merchant and the rest of the alliance. This inspires the merchant, who plans something mischievous to challenge the capital too. The merchant's plan to create a new currency against the current one shakes the world economy, leading to inflation and problems in food supplies as the richer people stockpile food and refuse to spend money until things settle down. This affects the local markets too, and essentials like wheat and potatoes are now being sold as luxury items. This might sound irrelevant to the plot, but the story now shifts to the state of the economy, so buckle up for more. Anyway, news about the rising prices reaches the winter country, and this shocks them because they believe someone else is messing with the authorities aside from them. And if the northern countries continue with this problem, the southern countries, including them, will be caught in the middle of an all-out economic crisis. True enough, the hero and the kingdom receive an official document from the capital declaring war against them for their heretic actions. This will begin in 10 days, and the hero is anxious about the destruction and bloodshed it will bring, so he urges the king to keep the casualties as small as possible, because this is what the Demon King would have wanted. As things in the human world take a turn for the worse, the Demon King is just about finished with her renewal. The boss maid patiently awaits her outside the chamber and remembers a past memory detailing the renewal process that involves her being possessed by the past Demon Kings, and there is a possibility that they will overtake her body and lose herself. The Demon King struggles to keep her identity intact and tries to remember the plan she shares with the hero, but in the end, she submits to the possession of Demon Kings. The hero and the team start to implement their strategy for the war while keeping the casualties low. When they are suddenly informed that a horde of blue demons is approaching their nation, the female knight whispers to him if the Demon King has something to do with this, but he assures him that this is an unexpected and separate issue. He shares his plan to survey the demon horde and think of a way to steer them away, and he flies immediately to the snowy demon territory. So you're telling us you can fly after all this time? While he is on his way to the demons, he recounts the contract he made with the Demon King to witness a world where humans and demons are at peace, and he finally arrives at the scene. She encountered the mage while she was resting in the demon realm and shared with her what could happen during the renewal. She establishes a telepathic link with him so they can discuss while in action, where she tells him that the Demon King is in great danger in the demon realm and that he must use his strongest magic to destroy the gate that connects the two worlds to get to her immediately. He replies that destroying the gate isn't a bad decision, to which she answers that she'll guide him through the process. Along the way, they continue with the plan, and the mage casts a wide area of teleportation magic on the blue demons and gets them away from the scene. While the hero brings down strong lightning magic that bombed the entire area, she tells him to fly directly to the smoke towards the gate hole, but as he approaches the hole, he notices that the area starts to get brighter. He gets dragged back by gravity and finds out that the demon realm is directly connected to the human world and is not a separate world at all. He wastes no time and flies to the Demon King's castle as the mage instructs him on her whereabouts. Back at the castle's deepest dungeon, the worn-out Demon King awakes from her slumbers and greets the boss maid, but she senses something sinister radiating from her master. The Demon King reveals that her body is now possessed by the collection of all past kings known as the Evil King, and the boss maid tries to strike her down using her ghost assistant, but the Evil King reflects the attack quickly and imposes the battle. She told the other king to capture her master and submit that she is smarter and more loyal than the others, but the Evil King snarked at her to make her into the lowest level of demons. The Evil King slaughtered her in a licentious move, then he cut her arm away to defeat her heavily, and the maid screamed sonorously. The hero arrived late, saw what was happening to the Demon King woman that he knew, and gave him a helmet, Then the evil king saw him and summoned a scythe to attack him in front of his head, which he had to save. He tried to speak to the clear soul of the king out of his possession and told her that everyone in the human world is waiting for her back. Then he used a lightning magical power to defeat that possessed king. Then he cured all of that by blinking out of her standstill and hugging the demon to take the real soul out of depression and make it powerful enough to manage the body instead of the possessing soul. They both felt reunited and healed, and then the boss maid cured her injuries. While they were healing the army, they used attachment magic. The hero told the human world about every progress made in her case, so they started to continue their work in the demon realm. All the demons and gateway citizens were happy for their king's return, as they were sure about being safe and strong while she was a king. But the hero, under the guise of the Black Knight, was showing off by throwing a massive spirit bomb toward the mountains, and it was giving hope to the demons to defeat the humans one day with this power. The Demon King wanted to change his people's minds about humans, but nobody of them wanted to hear. The hero saw that changing their mind would take some time, then they returned home exhausted. And the older maid went to report more about the state and the king's affairs. After that, the two maid sisters faced a crusade enemy as they were using the painting press, but they were rescued by one of the king's students, who became a soldier. She told them about the goings-on between the Winter and the Alliance countries and the plans for human and demon attempts in the war. The noble woman reported then that the king was making efforts to make the war go according to plan, and she welcomed her friend back to the human world. They later celebrated the return of the three with a huge feast, and they were laughing peacefully for the first time in a while. The Demon King talked to the hero and the boss maid about how the older maid would return as a servant again, as it would give hope for the people. Her determination led the Demon King to make amazing things with human ability in addition to everything they already had. In the end, she was really glad to be with humans.